Okay, now we're going to get and build the SpatialOS Unreal Engine fork. The first thing we need to do is accept the Unreal Engine EULA. You need to accept these terms to use the Unreal Engine at all, and crucially for us, you need to accept them so that you can see the source code of the Unreal Engine in GitHub. I actually can't show you how to do this because I've already set this up for my account, but there's a link here to the Epic Games organization. And there's a link here to the Unreal Engine documentation of exactly how you perform these steps. Effectively, what you do is link your Unreal Engine account, your Epic account, to your GitHub account, and then Epic will recognize that and give you access to the repo. If you perform those steps correctly, then you'll be able to grab the Unreal Engine fork source code and the Unreal Linux cross-platform support. First of all, we're going to clone the Unreal Engine fork. You can use HTTPS or SSH. I'm going to use HTTPS. I'm going to open up a command line terminal of my choice. I'm going to use PowerShell. Now, I tend to keep everything related to my Unreal development at C Unreal. The reason for this is that Unreal Engine and project paths can get exceedingly long, and if you place your project somewhere like documents, the length of these paths can actually cause issues on Windows, so it's smart to keep them as close to the root of your drive as possible. So I'm going to change directory to C/Unreal, and then I'm going to clone the Unreal Engine. Okay, now that the Unreal Engine is cloned, you can close your terminal. Next up, we're going to grab the Unreal Linux cross-platform support. The reason we need this is that SpatialOS server workers run in a Linux environment when you run them in the cloud, so you need to be able to build Linux Unreal Engine executables. To do this, we're going to jump to Unreal's Compiling for Linux documentation, and you want to download version 11 Clang 5.0.0 based. So you click to download that. It should be in your downloads. Because I like to keep all my Unreal stuff in the same place, I'm going to move this to C Unreal, and I'm going to extract it here. Now that we've extracted that, we can delete the original zip. We can close this tab, jump back to the Improbable documentation, and we're going to go to step 3, add environment variables. What we want to do is use two variables, Unreal Home, which tells the SpatialOS GDK where your Unreal installation is, and Linux multi-arch root, which tells Unreal where your Linux cross-platform support is. To do that, we're going to go to Control Panel, Environment Variables. You can actually speed this up by just typing environment into your start bar. Jump to Environment Variables. Now we want to create system variables in this case as opposed to user variables. I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it Unreal _home. And I'm going to use browse to direct this variable to my Unreal Engine, which is at C Unreal Engine. Next up, I'm going to create the second variable, Linux multi-arch root. Again, it's a system variable. And I'm going to direct that to C Unreal, and then the directory that we extracted the cross-platform support to. I click OK, and that should work. You can test this by echoing the various paths if you want. You can also check it by, in the next step, when you try and build the Unreal Engine, when you run setup.bat, it should say checking dependencies excluding Mac and Android. If it also says excluding Linux, then you haven't set your Linux multi-arch root correctly. So, let's run setup.bat as the first step to building our Unreal Engine. Just double click setup.bat and you see it says excluding Mac and Android, but not Linux. Okay, now that setup.bat has run, we want to run generateprojectfiles.bat. Again, you just double click on it. You will notice that UE4.sln has appeared. This is a Visual Studio solution for the Unreal 4 engine. If you click to open that in Visual Studio, next up you want to go to Build Configuration Manager. You want to make sure you're set to Development Editor and Win64. If that's already like that, you can hit close. Now you want to go to UE4 here in your Solution Explorer, right click and select Build. This is going to build the Unreal Engine. You can keep an eye on your build in this output window. This can take upwards of an hour. Okay, my engine's now built, so I can return to the documented steps. Now we've reached a bit of a fork in the road. We can either set up the first-person shooter example project or the starter template. The example project is a good overview of what SpatialOS can do, whereas the starter template is a more bare-bones project that you could start with if you wanted to actually build a game here.